ครับสวัสดีครับก็กลับมาที่เพจของเรานะครับวันนี้เราก็มีเอ่อมีอาจารย์ท่านใหม่นะครับเพราะเราจะลองมาดูกันนะครับเนื่องจากว่ามีหลายๆคนนะครับก็ติดต่อเข้ามาที่เพจเราก็อยากจะลองสอนเรื่องเกี่ยวกับประเทศของเขานะครับในช่วงโควิดนะครับวันนี้เราก็มีอาจารย์ชื่อว่าอาจารย์ Henry นะครับเขาจะมาสอนเรื่องเกี่ยวกับประเทศอังกฤษนะครับ ก็จะเป็นยังไงก็ลองติดตามดูนะครับสำหรับอาจารย์ท่านเก่านะครับเขาก็ยังอยู่นะครับไม่ได้ไปไหนอาจารย์เจตอนนี้ก็ยังอยู่ที่เชียงใหม่นะครับก็เดี๋ยวจะกลับมาวันพฤหัสนี้นะครับ Jay is still here but he is coming back on this Thursday he's not going anywhere right now we are doing something different we have Mr. Henry. He is teaching in Bangkok area, and he is here to do the trial, just to see how it goes. So, hello, Ajahn Henry.
Hello, how are you?
I am fine. I'm fine. So, how is it going?
It's going very well, thank you.
So, yeah, where are you from?
I'm from the UK. I was born in London, but I grew up in a small town about 1 hour north of London in a small village. So very different from big city life.
Okay. So, let me ask you this. What is the difference between UK and Thailand?
The difference is, well, I think the weather would have to be the most obvious answer, wouldn't it?
Okay. So how long have you been here?
This time, I've only been here since December, so that's 5 months, roughly. But I actually lived in Thailand from 2013 to 2017 for 4 years. So I speak a little bit of Thai. I'm quite familiar with Thai culture and Thai geography and Thai food.
โอเคครับก็วันนี้เราจะมาเรียนรู้เรื่อง7อย่างที่คนไทยคิดไปเองว่าคนอังกฤษเป็นยังไงนะครับ So we are here today because we're gonna learn about 7 misconceptions about British people and British culture that Thai people have and let's see okay let's start over so let's talk about you first how long have you been in Thailand?
So like I said, this time I've been in Thailand for about 5 months, but previously I lived in Thailand for 4 years.
Mm-hmm. And so where in the UK are you from?
I'm originally from London in the UK, but I grew up in a small town outside London.
So when Thai people want to say hello to English guy or you guys like what should we say?
Well, you can't go wrong with hello, can you, really? It's a good word. It's quite recognized by most speakers across the world. But these days, it seems like the word hello is a little bit too formal. Most people go with hi or hey, which is obviously quite an American thing to do, but the differences between British and American English.
Can you say again? I'm sorry, it was off.
So you can't go wrong with saying hello, but a lot of people think that's perhaps a bit too formal, so they choose to say hi or hey. Hey obviously being a bit more American than British, but still perfectly acceptable.
And when I live in your country, I was told like something different than hello. Some people come to me and said, "You're right."
Yeah, that's quite common now. People, rather than saying hello, how are you, they will combine them and they'll just say, "You're right." Like, are you all right? But you're right. And it's just a really easy, quick, and very friendly way of saying hello, how are you? It's very common, yes.
And when I live in the UK, I went to school in Birmingham, and long story short, I was fresh out from American high school, and
Mhm.
I was an ESL learner. So when I went to University of Birmingham, and I was told that like I should say something called "all right" or "you all right," and then when I said that thing to my American friend, they didn't understand. They said like, "Why are you
Yeah.
asking me if I were okay?" Is that like is that like something that unique that English people say to English people, or is it like the common thing?
I think it might be quite uniquely British. Yes. I think it's quite common, yeah, in the UK to just say "you're right," whereas in the US, obviously, I'm not American, but I think the American version of that is to say, "Hey, how's it going?" or "Hey, what's up?" Whereas in the UK, if you said to someone, "Hey, what's up?" they would think, "Oh, is that an American person?" Because there are still these clear differences between how British people greet each other and how Americans greet each other.
And we have the comment from my Facebook. She said she. Can you read it?
Yeah, I always use "how's life?" Haha.
Do you say something like that? I mean, like how is life? Is that like something that you understand, or yeah?
Yeah, of course. It's something I've used, although I extend it slightly and I always say, "How's life treating you?"
Yeah, I I remember someone said that thing to me back also.
Yeah. All right, mate.
Yeah.
How's life treating you? Very, very common.
Yeah. So what else do you recall? Um, Anything like how foreigners should come and talk to you?
Well, like I said, it's become a little bit too formal, a little bit too disjointed to say "hello, how are you?" So any way of shortening that, regardless of whether or not it's American English or British English. So, "Hey, what's up? Hi, how's it going? Hey, how's life? Hi, how you doing? You all right? You all right, mate?" Things like that. I think they will all be received quite well.
Okay. And so when I was in your country, I feel like you guys are a bit reserved, because like when I was in the US, I just go to a stranger and said, "Hey man, how is it going?" And everyone was said like, "Hey" back to me. But like when I live in your country, like I felt like when I said "Hey" to a stranger, like they gave me like the look, and it's kind of like if I don't know them, I shouldn't say anything to them. Is that how you feel
Yes.
also?
Well, this is something. I'm an ESL teacher and I've
Mhm.
lived in different countries and I've worked with different nationalities of people. And something I always hear is British people are so reserved. And
Mhm.
I used to take umbrage with this, meaning I used to get slightly offended by that until I met people from other countries and I realized, yes, actually, British people are a little bit reserved. We're a bit suspicious. If a stranger comes up to us and says, "Hey, how are you?" I think, "I don't know you. Why are you talking to me?" It catches us. It catches us off guard, and we're a little bit suspicious about that. But obviously, sensibilities are changing, and British people, especially younger generations of British people, are a lot less reserved than they used to be. So we're seeing a lot of positive change there, which is good.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So the next question is this is like something that Thai people are not like we don't understand. Like for me, like I kind of I got confused when I was younger, but like when I live in another country now, I was told that like it's different. Like um so when I live in Thailand back when I was younger, I was told that like England is the country, but when I live in another country, they said that English England is not a country. They call United Kingdom, and England is a part of United Kingdom, and so yeah, it's kind of like confusing me.
Well,
And
this is something that, yeah, this is something that causes a lot of confusion. Not just with Thai people. I've worked in different countries, and students across different countries have always had this level of confusion. And I notice it a lot when I show the different flags, because obviously we have the flag of the UK, which we call the Union Jack.
Mhm.
But then
Yeah,
within that we
I
have the English flag, the Scottish flag, and the Welsh flag, and the Northern Irish flag. So yeah,
Union
go on.
Jack. Yeah, I remember Jiri Hariwell wore it in Spice Girls.
Exactly. Yeah, good memory. Yeah. God, that was a long
Yeah.
time ago. That's making me feel old now. Thank you.
I she brought it back like last year when she went on a tour. I remember she tried to
Oh
wear
yeah.
it again. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's
So,
brave.
well, I remember that like when I studied English when I was younger, I learned English by listening to their songs, and
Mm,
it was like slow, and so I could understand because like honestly like I couldn't understand British accent when there was when you guys are like speaking in like very like the normal like standard tone, but like Spice Girls for me like they spoke slow in
hmm
that song, and there's this I have to say like they sang slower than the average English people when they were like singing in that song, so I could understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, as a teacher, I often recommend certain musical artists and bands as a way of perfecting, practicing their English. I can't say I've ever recommended the Spice Girls, but that might be my own personal preference. I always recommend the Beatles for two reasons. Because one, they sing very clearly, they use very easy to understand language, and two, because their music is very, very good. So I always
Them,
recommend listening to the Beatles to practice English.
yeah. So can you clarify like which one is United Kingdom and which one is I think that you guys have something different. Like one is like United Kingdom and the other
Mhm.
one is Great Britain.
Yeah. So we've got Britain, Great Britain, the UK, and obviously we've got England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
Mhm.
The United Kingdom, as you've got here, you've got England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and that's also what we would say is Britain. So if you're from England, you're British. If you're from Wales, you're British. If you're from Scotland, you're British. And if you're from Northern Ireland, you're British. But then we have the British Isles, which obviously incorporates all of Ireland. So you've got the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Do you guys speak the same language? That is the next one. Hold
That's
on.
a very interesting question. That's almost a controversial question, because Wales does have its own language. People in Wales do speak Welsh, but interestingly enough, Welsh is not considered the first language, the native tongue of Wales. So, like I'd say 95% of people in Wales speak English, and the majority of people in Scotland speak English. Although these countries do actually have their own languages, they are based on Celtic, which is a very, very ancient language. The same goes for Ireland and Northern Ireland as well. So, yes, by and large, the native tongue is English, but these other countries do have their own separate languages. They're just not used as commonly.
Let's see. The the other thing that I got confused when I live in your country. I I was told that like you guys have the different name of the meal, and like for me like I got up and then I call whatever I got on the first day for the first meal of the day, I call them breakfast. But then like when I went to school and I called them lunch, but like my friend said, oh, it's brunch. And then the next meal is would be like dinner, which I got like almost at the end of the day. But like my friend said, no, that's different. We call it tea time. We call it tea. The dinner should be like in the afternoon, and the tea should be like in the evening. So yeah, it's totally like different that I I was learned. So Henry, help please.
Hmm.
Um, do you how many meals do you have per day? Um, uh, um, like because like I when I got up, I called breakfast, but then I when I go to the next meal on at noon, I call them lunch. But like when I went to England, my friend said, no, let's do brunch,
Well,
and we have like
I'll start
yeah,
with the title of this slide, which is 7 meals a day.
hmm yeah. Do you have 7 meals a day? Can you hear me? Henry.
Hmm. So, yeah, let me explain this. So, the title of this slide that I'm looking at here, 7 meals a day, that's definitely a misconception.
ครับก็เขาก็ขาดๆหายๆนะครับก็เดี๋ยวรอเขากลับมานะครับก็ตอนนี้ก็เราก็มาอยู่ที่7อาหาร7มื้อต่อวันนะครับก็เรื่องมีอยู่ว่าตอนที่ผมไปเรียนที่อังกฤษนะครับทุกๆวันเนี่ยตอนที่ผมตื่นขึ้นมาเนี่ยผมก็ไปคุยกับเพื่อนผมเพื่อนผมบอกว่าผมก็ตื่นเช้ามาประมาณ7โมงตอนเช้าเนี่ยก็ไม่ได้กินข้าวแต่ว่ากินข้าวประมาณ10โมงเพื่อนบอกว่าเฮ้ย10โมงเนี่ยมันไม่ใช่อาหารเช้านะมันเป็นอาหารมันเป็นอาหารก่อนเที่ยงนะมันก็คือ brunch นะคะก็คือเพื่อนผมเป็นคนอังกฤษนะเป็นคนอังกฤษเป็นเพื่อนผู้หญิงอะเขาก็บอกเป็น brunch นะคะไม่ใช่อาหารเบรกฟาสต์นะคะผมก็แบบเฮ้ยจริงเหรอคือแบบเหรอเราตื่นเราคนไทยเนี่ยตื่นเช้ามามันก็เรียกว่าเบรกฟาสต์ตลอดเลยนะมันมันจะใช่เหรอคือคนไทยคือเราเป็นคนไทยด้วยกันน่ะก็คือว่าตื่นคืออะไรที่ตื่นคือกินอันดับแรกของแต่ละวันน่ะมันก็คือเบรกฟาสต์นะแต่ว่าไปที่อังกฤษเนี่ยก็คือเขาบอกว่าถ้าเป็นอาหารเช้าอะก่อน11โมงเนี่ยมันก็คือเขาก็เรียกว่าเป็น brunch ถ้าเป็น11โมงแล้วอะเขาเรียกว่า evening อะไรสักอย่างเนี่ยครับเดี๋ยวรอคุณ Henry ติดต่อกลับมา
Sorry about
Okay.
that. I think
Yeah, that's okay.
my internet was a little bit weak there, but
That's okay.
can you
That's
hear me
okay.
now?
Yeah. Yes, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you asked me to clear up. You asked me to
Yep.
clear up the confusion about this, the different meals in the day.
Go ahead, man. Yep. Take it away.
First of all, I don't think any British people eat 7 meals a day. I think that's a little bit excessive. Breakfast is normal. Obviously, most British people eat breakfast. Brunch is largely considered to be a luxury that maybe you have at the weekend or on a Sunday. A lot of people have now started combining brunch with alcohol, and they have boozy brunches where they'll perhaps drink a couple of cocktails with a large breakfast lunch meal at about 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. or something like that. 11s is very, very old-fashioned. I've never heard anyone actually reference 11s for a long time. It's something that went out of fashion probably at least about 50 years ago. Lunch is just lunch. It's the meal you have in the middle of the day. Now, here's where the linguistic confusion comes in, because as with Thailand, there are differences in dialect depending on where you go in the country, and that affects the language as well. In the north of England, you're likely to hear the word dinner as reference to afternoon meal, like lunch. But where I'm from, lunch is your afternoon meal. Then we've got tea. Now, tea for me is a drink. It's tea, obviously. But again, people from the north of England, they refer to their evening meal as tea, whereas people in the centre or the south of England, their evening meal is then dinner. Supper, very much like 11s is a very outdated term that people don't really use anymore. And if anyone is still eating at midnight, then I think they have some serious health problems. So I hope that helps in clearing that up.
Well, yeah, my housemate, well, I think you call it flatmate. Um, my my flatmates, they are from Birmingham and they're from Yorkshire. So when they spoke to me, they said like, yeah, I'm gonna have tea soon, and I was like, you mean dinner? And they said that, yeah, dinner I had it at like 3 o'clock. Now I'm gonna have tea, and I'm like, okay, so you talking about tea as in drinking, or you talking like tea as in, because like I saw like they were cooking some food, and I was like, is that, are you talking about food or are you talking about the drink? And so like yeah, so that's what I got like when they said tea, they don't mean like the drink, they mean like dinner, they mean food, like the
Yeah,
meal, yeah.
it does get a bit confusing, but like I said,
So you're from South and you didn't use that term, right?
no. Well, yeah, exactly. It changes depending on what part of the country you're in. Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah. For me, tea is tea. Mangap cha, it's not a meal. Tea is tea. Um,
mhm.
I went to university in the north of England, and people were using the word tea meaning their evening meal. And I was obviously very confused by this. So they would say, oh, what are you having for your tea? And I would say, I'm having tea for my tea because it's tea. And they say, what? Like, what are you eating for tea? So I'm not eating my tea. What's wrong with you? So there's that, what do you call it? It's just like that language barrier that even exists within the UK, that people, when I say dinner, I mean a meal I eat at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. When someone from maybe Birmingham or Manchester or Liverpool, they say dinner, they mean their afternoon meal at 1 p.m. or 12 p.m. And it's
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously you get used to it, but it's quite an interesting facet of how language changes as you move up a country. The interesting thing is that England is a very, very small country, especially compared to Thailand. So to have that level of variation in the difference in meaning is quite fascinating.
Yeah. Anyway, so on this picture, well, in this picture, what do you
So
see
yeah,
on?
anything else about that?
Can you introduce us about this picture? Like I heard like that there is something on this dish called Yorkshire pudding. Do you see? Well, the Yorkshire pudding, the black one, when they live in the UK, they say that it's a kidney or something like that. Can
So
you
we've
elaborate?
got, yeah, so we'd call this the full English breakfast. And this, no, black pudding.
Hmm. The black pudding. Cut.
No, so first of all, it's called black pudding, not Yorkshire pudding. Those are two different things.
Mhm.
Yeah, black pudding, if you can see it, it's the small black discs next to the eggs and the beans. And it's actually made from the blood of a pig. And I have to tell you, it sounds disgusting, but it is absolutely delicious. It's really, really good. In fact, for me, the black pudding is the best thing in this breakfast.
Oh, really? We have the pig blood
Yeah,
in
it's the best part of this breakfast. Obviously, we've
in our
got
dish.
the sausages, the beans, the bacon, the eggs, but the black pudding is the number one.
Okay. I didn't try because of my flatmate said like, oh, if you don't like it, you can throw it away. But it just in Thai dish we have the pig blood in something calledข้าวมันไก่ also. And
Yeah,
yeah, well, but English breakfast I like it, to be honest. Like when I was in college or what you call uni, um when I got hungover, English breakfast is like the best thing that I ever that I
mate,
got.
exactly. I was about to say the full English breakfast is reserved especially for when you have a hangover.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of like greasy and a lot of like oily, and when you have it, it's kind of like, yeah, you have it and
Exactly.
you just
Yeah.
like lay in bed, and it's kind of like the best thing ever.
Yeah, you feel hungover, you crave fat and salt, and essentially what this is a plate of fat and salt, and it makes you feel so much better.
Anyway, let's go on.
I'm feeling
So
hungry looking at that.
so let's talk about the next Thai people. We
Mhm.
When we learn English, we thought that everyone speak like the textbook that what we call is like Oxford or the Cambridge accent.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I thought everyone talked like BBC accent. And
Definitely not.
yeah, and my dream was shattered when I moved to England, and I found out that like, oh my god, I don't understand what they are saying.
Well,
What they were
yeah,
saying is kind of like, yeah, yeah. And when I watched the football and I saw David Beckham, I was like, oh, this guy is like handsome, blah blah blah. But like when he spoke, I was like, he sound like cartoon for me. I was so sorry.
yeah, yeah,
And it wasn't just me. Like when I spoke to some people in the US, like they said similar. They were like, oh my god, David Beckham, he sound like cartoonist to me, and blah blah blah. Yeah.
mm,
So yeah. So when I watch a lot of television like Harry Potter, and they spoke in film fine to me, but when I watch TV like like the telly in the UK, like I think what you guys have something called the accent like Cockney, like Amy Winehouse, and
right. Yeah.
uh,
Well,
yeah.
Cockney is actually not an accent. It's more a dialect. It's a regional dialect, and it's specific to South London. And Cockney is more about the words rather than the accent. So we have Cockney rhyming slang, which is where you change your language for things that rhyme. Okay, for example, in Cockney rhyming slang, you don't say stairs. You don't say I'm going up the stairs. You say I'm going up the apples and pears. Apples and pears rhyme with stairs. So that's Cockney rhyming slang. However, it's mainly used in a specific part of London where everyone does have the same accent. And they kind of talk a bit like this, going up the apples and pears. So yeah, it is very similar to that Amy Winehouse, London, like South London, Southeast London. We call it a twang. the Southeast London twang.
when I um when I work in well when I studied film and televisions, um there were like two or three accents that American people they had to learn British accent. One is Cockney, the other one is like the I don't know what they called it. It's like standard English, and I forgot what they call. But like I know that Cockney accent, like they try to stop using H word, the H. You said
Okay,
H.
yeah, standard English. Yeah.
No, the H word. Like when you said here, they said ear. Why when you said why you here, they said why you ear. Like try to drop the H word in the front. When I said I'm
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
home,
that's very
it's yeah. And
yeah.
so I was like, so if someone like dropped the H word in the front, I'm like, I'm gonna say like, oh yeah, that's Cockney. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll give
and
you I'll give you an example, a very quick example of how you drop the H. In Thai, for example, you would say bort ho, which means headache.
both well, yeah,
Headache. In Cockney, you'd say headache.
headache,
Headache.
yeah,
I've got an headache.
like hello, you said hello.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, the other one is like the received pronunciation, which received, but which is like what people they are referring as the posh accent.
Right.
And I was told that well I tried to do some research and I found out that like you guys don't speak like that at all. Like it's
Not
kind
many
of like
people do, you know.
because like us when we are learning English, we thought like English people they are supposed to sound like that, but when I went to England, I found out like nobody spoke like that. And if I were like I when I went to uni, I was like, can you speak like BBC accent? They get me like they get me the yes, it's very bad story like later.
Yeah, it's well, some people do have that accent, but it's very rare that you will actually meet those people. But yeah, some people call it BBC English, which these days is less appropriate because the BBC exhibits a wide range of accents, but it's more commonly known as the Queen's English.
Um, because and now like I because like I am working with people with teaching Thai people, like teaching Thai to English people. No, teaching Thai to foreigner, teaching English to Thai people. So I learned that like even though I speak my own language Thai, I don't speak like the one on the in the Thai broadcast. My Thai is not like that as good as the people that speak on the broadcast television in Thailand also.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how I become to that's how I understand that like BBC accent is not like what common people speak in
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very different, obviously. The interesting, well, it's the same with all languages. You can speak it fluently without speaking it accurately, and also, that plays a big part into your accent as well. And obviously, accent derives from where you're from. So there are many different ways of actually speaking English, and technically they're all correct. But yeah, it's very rare that you actually meet someone who speaks what I would call the Queen's English, what you would call BBC English.
Mhm. Okay, let's see. What is the next thing? So, Thai people, when we think of like this education, we thought of like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Do you guys like dress up and have to like do you guys like is that like something like fashion? Do you guys like dress like very professional, look like catwalk and then like learn something?
Ooh. No. So, I mean, you've got two pictures here. One is of Harry Potter kids. And I'm guessing this one below, is that from Waterloo Road?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, I thought so. You'll notice that these uniforms are actually very similar, aren't they? It's just usually a white shirt and a tie, and the tie will have the pattern of the school on it.
Uh-huh.
That's very standard for every secondary, which, you know, is Mattium, every secondary school in the UK. Very, very standard. No school children really treat it like a fashion show or any kind of high profile, glitzy, glamorous event. It's very, very, you'll notice all these kids with their ties, none of them have them done up to the top. They're all quite loose and relaxed. Yeah.
When they're loose, they look like very fashion. They look good. I don't know.
It's not out of looks, it's out of comfort. Because if you try wearing a tie around your neck like that, oh, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah, but like when I was an exchange student, when I studied because like I went to the New Zealand school when I was like in Matiyom 4. That was like grade 10. People say like, oh yeah, you look smart, you look awesome, you look really good because like you dress like Harry Potter style, and like so like I wore like the jersey and I had like the tie, and people like when I took picture and I show it to friends and family.
16 years old. Yeah.
15 years old, and people look at me like they were like, oh my god, you look so hot. I'm like, yes, but like Thai people didn't know that like we had only like 1 or 2 uniform and we have to wear it for a whole week, and that was like the brutal truth about about like I have to say foreign culture. Like you have only like a few uniform and you have to like 1 or 2 and you have to wear it for a whole week. Yeah. How many uniform do you have to wear for a week? Henry, looks like you have like problem ครับก็เดี๋ยวรอเฮนรี่กลับมานะครับก็ผมก็พูดถึงเรื่องยูนิฟอร์มนะครับเฮนรี่ก็กลับมาแล้ว so Henry, how many uniform do you have to wear per week? How many uniform do you own, man?
Yeah.
รู้สึกว่าก็เขาก็เข้ามาหานะครับ ก็ลองดูนะครับเดี๋ยวก็เรามาดูต่อนี่นะครับ
About school uniform.
So we have like the top one. We have the top one is the Thai uniform, which is what we call regular school. On the bottom one we have the private school. You can see the difference between the top and the bottom. The top one they have like they wear the white shirt, and the bottom one we have what we call the white shirt and the pants. If they are blue, it's like very private school that they always choose the blue one. And if you see like these brown pants, it is the state school. Henry, you back? Yep. Hi. So I was asking you.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
Earlier. So how many uniform set do you have to wear? Do you own? I mean.
Well, I was at secondary school a long time ago, because I'm quite old now, and like you said, I only had one pair of trousers to last me the week, and perhaps two, maybe three shirts. So if on Monday you get your shirt very dirty, you can't wear that again for the rest of the week because you only wash your clothes once a week. So you have to be very careful with what you wear. And obviously, you're a young teenager running around, messing around. It's gonna start to smell quite bad, isn't it? So you have to be quite careful. Towards Thursday and Friday, you know, your uniform doesn't look as good as it did on Monday, and you certainly don't smell as good as it did on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. So you are teaching in Thai school. Which uniform do they have? Do they have like the top one, or they have the bottom one? The color of the pants. Do they have like the top uniform, or do they have like the bottom uniform?ก็รู้สึกจะมีปัญหานะครับอืม Hello ก็หายไปแล้ว Hey can you hear me อินเทอร์เน็ตเขาก็ขาดหายนะครับเดี๋ยวก็รอสักพักหนึ่งนะครับก็อย่างที่ Henry บอกเมื่อกี้นะครับเขาบอกว่าเขามีเสื้ออยู่3ตัวกางเกงมีอยู่ตัวหนึ่งถ้าเกิดมีปัญหาเกี่ยวกับเรื่องอย่างเช่นแบบเวลาออกไปวิ่งข้างนอกเนี่ยมีปัญหามากมายอะไรเนี่ยก็จะซักก็เอามาซักระหว่างทางนะครับระหว่างสัปดาห์ได้นะครับแต่ว่าจะซักบ่อยๆก็ไม่ได้นะครับก็ลองถามดูอีกรอบหนึ่ง Henry do you have can you hear me now
I can, yeah. I think my internet is just being particularly slow this evening.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Do you have the top did you wear the top uniform, or do they have like the bottom one?
At my current school, it's definitely the bottom one with the blue shorts for the boys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's like the private school. Let's go over. So at what I was told by my friend, my English friend, they said that although football is the famous one, but people in your country if they like they prefer cricket or rugby. Is that true?
It's an interesting question, this. I don't feel 100% qualified to answer this question because I don't like any sport. But I'll break it down in a very simple way. Cricket is seen as being quite high class. Rugby is also quite high society, private school, posh boys, whereas football is generally seen as a bit more working class. Football is definitely the most popular in the UK, but rugby is seen as being a lot tougher because if you compare a rugby player to a football player, then there's definitely a big difference there in terms of their physicality. Football makes the most money for the country, obviously. You've got the rivalries between the huge teams like Liverpool, Manchester, and Chelsea, Arsenal. Rugby is popular, but with smaller groups of people. And I very rarely meet people who actually watch cricket. I can't imagine a more boring sport to watch on television than cricket. Some people like it, but it is seen as being quite upper class, a little bit posh. So yeah, there's a class divide when it comes to these sports. Football definitely being more working class, definitely more popular. Rugby and cricket being more private school, privately educated, posh boy sports.
Okay, so when I watched Doctor Who, I saw that like they say that like prime minister they have to be in rugby team. And
Yeah, well, it's funny you should mention that because rugby is closely linked with private schools. And
yeah,
obviously, all politicians went to private schools. I'm sure you've heard of Eton.
yeah,
So
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
these posh well, we call it public school, but it is private school. All these posh, privately educated kids have to join the rugby team and all that nonsense. Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
that's why working class people don't really like rugby because it's not the sport of the people; it's the sport of the elite.
Uh-huh. And so when I watch like some old movie, they always play cricket like for example when I see Downton Abbey, they always like go on
Yeah.
with the cricket thing, and even though like some when I go on the foreign directory with like some directory with some foreigner community in Thailand, they will ask like, oh, where can I find cricket channel or cricket community in
Mm.
Thailand? And I'm like, okay, that is not that sound like yeah, that doesn't ring the bell to me. But I yeah, well, um, but I still hear like
It's
they
not
that
it's not hugely popular, but here's the thing. So if we forget about rugby, because rugby is elitist and it's posh, it's private schools. Cricket and football, England have a much better cricket team than they do football team. Football is more popular, but when was the last time England won the World Cup? It was 1966. That was a long time ago. Whereas England are actually really good at cricket. So a lot of people who travel, English people, they'll say, oh, where can I watch the cricket? Because they want to have a drink and watch England do well at something. The other very good cricket teams are the West Indies and Australia. So it's quite common actually at a bar around Sukhumvit, maybe Soy 11, somewhere like that. You'll get a group of Australians and a group of English people sat watching the cricket together. And maybe, they have a few drinks and they actually get a bit aggressive about it. And you think, whoa, 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 it's only cricket, calm down.
yeah, well, I don't know like I saw like people keep asking me like, oh, why can't I watch cricket? I'm like, cricket, is that like something that people play? I mean, like I saw in movie, but like I don't really see like they really do play that much. But like I still hear people ask like where can they watch it in Thailand? I'm like, really? Yeah. So, but like,
Yeah.
but yeah, but the only but like I always see in Doctor Who or like in some other television series like they say like, yeah, if you want to be prime minister you have to play rugby. And then even though like I heard like they say like, oh, girls dig rugby player than football player. So I'm like, okay,
I'm
that's
not sure about
interesting.
that. Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that might be an example of satire.
Mm. Anyway, so the next one is when Thai people go to your country, they always imagine that like they are yeah when they go to your country they will thought like, do you live in this type of community or like this type of accommodation?
No. I mean, this is a huge misconception. Um, yeah, huge misconception. British, and more specifically English architecture is amongst the most unique in the world, and it's the majority of English architecture is a direct result of Victorian England and the growth of factories and manufacture. And during that time, factory owners needed their staff to be close to their factories so that they could work on longer hours. So they built very, very small houses all in a line, and we call that a terraced houses. So most people now live in terraced houses because the biggest cities in England are former industrial cities like Liverpool, Manchester, especially Birmingham, especially London. If you go to London, you'll almost exclusively see terraced houses. Obviously, there are other examples. So this idea that we all live in a castle or a mansion, that's definitely a huge misconception. In the countryside, I will admit, properties are very, very large, but that's because the demand for those properties is lower because it's rural as opposed to being urban. So you can buy a 6-bedroom, a 7-bedroom house with 2 or 3 acres of land for the same price as a 2-bedroom house in central London, because in rural areas you don't have the same facilities, whereas in central London you do. But yeah, this idea that we all live in these incredibly lavish castles or these huge mansions, it's a very, very common misconception, I'm afraid.
ก็เขาก็บอกว่ามันจะแตกต่างกันนะครับคือถ้าเกิดสมมุติว่าเรามันมันเป็นเรื่องเกี่ยวกับประวัติศาสตร์ของเขานะครับคือคนที่อยู่ในประเทศอังกฤษเนี่ยเขาไม่ได้อยู่อย่างนี้นะครับเดี๋ยวลองถามดูนะครับว่ายังไง so huge apartment, huge complex is not really your thing. Let me ask you this. When you see this type of community, like the one that on the top picture, I took it from what they call Downton Abbey. It's kind of like I think they call it estate, which is it looks
Yeah,
like
Downton Abbey.
it looks like hotels. According to the movie, yeah. On the bottom one is from it's kind of like when Thai people when we go to your country, we have to go to see this kind of view, like the London Eyes and the bridge. So what do you really live? I mean, do you live like this kind of architecture?
No, not at all. I think a very important thing to remember here is that London is not England. London is London. London does not represent England at all. I think a lot of people who live outside of London, people from cities like Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, they get very offended by the idea that London represents England, because it doesn't. And when we see images like this one from Downton Abbey, we're very aware of the fact that it is fiction and it's fantasy, and it represents the absolute highest of society. What Downton Abbey is, 100 years ago? No, not that. It's World War I or II, I can't remember. But it's very outdated. No one really lives like this anymore. The average house in the UK has 2 bedrooms, maybe 3 bedrooms, a small garden, a small kitchen. It's very, very modest. You'll be very, very lucky to meet anyone who ever lives like this top picture, because it's so rare these days. These actual houses, they're now called stately homes, and no one really lives in them, but they're kept open to the public for people to visit. So people pay a small amount of money in the same way that you go to a temple and you pay a small amount of money to look around. People go to these houses, pay a small amount of money, we look at the lavish architecture and the rich portraiture and the artwork and the furnishings, but we're very aware of the fact that no one lives in accommodation like this. It's a fantasy, an absolute fantasy. Bangkok is very much like a lot of cities in the UK. We have high-rises. We have high-rise buildings everywhere where people live in small one-bedroom flats or studio apartments. You have small houses as well. So yeah, that's a really important thing to remember, that this idealized version of the UK or of England, it really doesn't exist. And like I said, Downton Abbey especially, that TV show is absolute fantasy. It does not represent reality in any way.
Yeah. So this is like
Yes.
this is where I went to when I live in when I live in Birmingham. This is like in front of my friend's house. This is
Uh-huh.
this is like what English people live, and I took it from the Google. I think it's took it from the Google Earth or I
From
don't
Street
Google
View.
Map.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like I think this is what English people live. Yeah. It's not like the castle. It's I, what do you call this? Do you call this like flat? Do you call it flat or house or what do you call this?
Well, it's difficult for me to tell from this picture. Is this
It's
apartments
the house.
within one building?
No, it's the house of my friend. I call it house because like a whole house is my friend's. But like I'm not sure because like it's on the front it looks very small, but in the when I go inside it's like very long, narrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a house. Only one person lives there,
No, it's like 3 people.
but they share
Um
it.
no, my friend his father and his brother live there. It's
Okay,
very
so I
small,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, it's a house. I've got to be honest with you. Even this is quite large. This is not. This doesn't represent the average house in England at all. This is still quite a large house. You would need to look for terrace houses in places like Manchester and Liverpool and East London to get a really good idea of how English people live. So this looks like it's perhaps a detached or a semi-detached house, meaning so a detached house, you've got one building, where are we? One building on its own, and it's not connected to anything. Whereas semi-detached, you'd have 2 buildings joined, and a terrace, you'd have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 buildings all joined. Like I said, this is still quite a large property. So
It's like the wind like you see the car in front. That's my friend's car, and
Mhm.
in the car in front of the house. That's like my friend's car. But like in the front, they have like 4 windows, and they have like this small garden in the back. But like it's small for me. It's too small. But like for my friend, like it's like where where he lived and where he lived with his family and grew up. And I don't know. For me, like I was like, are you serious? Like it looked very small. But yeah. But for my friends, they say like this is how English people live, and I'm like, okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's right. And most people in the UK, you're a similar age to me. Is that correct?
what do you mean?
So you're about 30, about my age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the UK now, it's very common for people our age to still live with their parents because no one has the money to buy a house to move out from their own homes. Whereas 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you get to 18 years old. Imagine that, 18 years old, and the first thing you do, boom, you're out the house, you buy somewhere, or you live somewhere different from your parents. And now, you 25, you're still with your parents. 30, you still live with your parents. It's really interesting.
Um. Well. I have to say that because of I have like Asian culture, it's I
It's
when
quite
I told
common
my
for you to stay with your parents for a long
when
time. Yeah, I know.
when I told my friend that like in Asian culture we never leave the nest, like
Yeah, you never leave the nest.
we try, but like the family always pull us back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so the next picture, sometimes when I when I look at the news and when I flip the phone over, I couldn't tell the difference. To be honest, like, I couldn't tell the
Yeah.
difference because like when I go like over the phone very fast, and they look similar.
Well,
Uh,
they both have blonde hair and they both have stupid faces. So yeah.
and they are like a bit they have like a bit like unique and odd idea, and they share
Yeah.
like I don't know, like yeah. Sometimes like when they talk something, I don't understand like if they were thinking about the consequence or they think before they talk or
Well, yeah, exactly. They represent the kind of people who speak without thinking. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway ครับก็ครับทางนี้นะครับคนทางซ้ายนะครับก็คือ what is the name of the left hand side guy?
Boris Johnson.
He's not Russian, is he?
Not Russian. No, he's from the UK. He's the Prime Minister. Of course he's not Russian.
Boris is like
Guandino.
Boris is I don't know, like
Oh, it's
Boris.
because
I thought
Boris is a Russian sounding name. Yeah, because Boris sounds like a traditional Russian name. Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
yeah. ก็ทางซ้ายนะครับก็เขาชื่อบริสจอนสันนะครับก็เป็นประธานาธิบดีของคนอังกฤษนะครับส่วนทางขวานะครับก็คือคุณชายทรัมป์นะครับทรัมป์นี่ก็เป็นของประเทศอเมริกานะครับก็สองคนก็หน้าตาไม่ค่อยต่างกันสักเท่าไหร่นะครับคือผมทองเหมือนกันก็มาจากคล้ายๆกันนะครับก็คล้ายๆกันนะครับแต่ว่ามาจากคนละประเทศกันก็ so before we go tonight let me ask you this
Yeah.
you said that you're from England and what is the difference between United Kingdom and England?
Honestly, to me, there is no difference. Usually, when people ask me where I'm from, sometimes I say the UK, sometimes I say England, sometimes I say Britain. I don't think about it really. For other people, it's a very important thing. For example, a Scottish person is more likely to say, I'm Scottish. They won't say, I'm from the UK. They'll say, I'm Scottish. Whereas an English person will say, I'm from the UK. Because Scottish people have a stronger identity. Whereas in the UK, we just don't really care that much. We just say, yeah, I'm from the UK. We don't put too much thought into it. So you ask me where I'm from, I will say one of three things, but I won't put any thought into it.
So in Thailand, like this is something funny. One of the guy came to me last time. There was this is like a long time ago. He's from Ireland, the Irish guy. He asked me where can I go to the embassy, and I said there is no Irish embassy around here. We don't have the Irish embassy in our country. And he was like, are you serious? I was like, yes, I'm so sorry, your country, we don't have an embassy here. And in the end it was like very embarrassing, and it was I don't know, it was bad for me and bad for him because like this is very terrifying. So he was like looking for the Irish embassy or United Kingdom, I think I should say that. But like I was like 16 and I didn't know better, but in the end like he couldn't find it for a couple of days. In the end I figured out that United Kingdom and yeah they are the same. So I asked, like, "Are you English?" And he said, "No, I'm not English. I'm Irish." And then, yeah, et cetera. And it was a long story. And to make it shorter, like, I told him that, like, we don't have the Irish embassy here in Thailand. Uh, so when someone come to me to Thailand, like when they say like, "Oh, I'm not English," like it's kind of like difficult for us to
Yeah.
understand. And yeah, anything that you like to leave before you go?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, actually. You can never tell how someone will react when you ask them where they're from. Now, I'm a very relaxed, open-minded person, which is why I'll say I'm from the UK rather than saying I'm from England, or I'll say I'm from England rather than the UK. It's because I don't really care that much. Some people have very, very strong national identity. Now, if you ask, for example, a Scottish person, are you from the UK? They might, not they will, they might say, no, I'm from Scotland, because they have very strong national identity. You've got no way of knowing how someone's going to react to that question. So my advice, I suppose, to anyone would just be, always be polite. If you're not sure, just say, are you from the British Isles? That way, you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong if you say, are you from the British Isles? So that would be my advice to anyone. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much, and I hope I will see you again soon. And
Yeah.
anyway, thank you for teaching the Thai culture. Thank you for teaching English culture to Thai
English
people,
culture,
and
yeah.
thank you for teaching language to my people also. And
Yeah,
I
well,
hope you
I
have a
hope your
fun time.
viewers enjoyed it. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed sharing my opinions and my ideas with you.
Thank you. Have a good time. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Bye
you
bye.
too. โชคดีนะครับ
ครับก็วันนี้ก็คงต้องลาไปก่อนนะครับถ้ามีอะไรก็ฝากติดตามที่ช่องนี้ครับ Thank you so much for watching and if you have any questions or if you know anything about the culture and you want to share it with us, please let me know. And if you want to know anything about Thailand, just let me know it also. Thank you so much for watching again and see you. Bye bye.